Imagine waking up one morning to realize that the very ground beneath your feet no longer belongs to you or your community. Imagine entire landscapes, fields that once fed your family, valleys that were rich with tradition, quietly bought up by faceless corporations and billionaires with ambitions you can only guess at. This isn't a nightmare. It's happening right now, all around us, and almost nobody is talking about it. An invisible shift is underway, a massive transfer of one of the world's most vital resources, farmland. And those buying it aren't farmers. They are tech moguls, investment firms, multinational conglomerates. Why? What do they know that we don't? And what does it mean for all of us? Land has always been power. It has fed nations, built empires, decided the fates of entire civilizations. But in our modern world, distracted by digital screens and endless noise, we've forgotten this ancient truth. Meanwhile, in boardrooms and behind closed doors, the wealthiest and most powerful have remembered. They're buying up farmland at an unprecedented rate, locking down control over the one resource that no technology can replace: food. Take a look at the names behind these purchases, and the pattern becomes chillingly clear. Billionaires who already dominate industries from tech to finance are quietly extending their reach into agriculture. Some of the largest landowners today are people who have never lifted a spade in their lives, but they understand something most of us overlook. Food security is the foundation of real power. Without it, even the mightiest economy can collapse. Without it, societies fracture, people rebel, governments fall. If you control the food, you control the people. And farmland isn't just about food. It's about water rights. It's about mineral rights. It's about the ability to shape the very environment, dictate the flow of resources, and determine who thrives and who starves. In an age where droughts grow fiercer and fresh water becomes scarcer, owning farmland is akin to holding a key to the future itself. It's not just a smart investment, it's a strategic takeover. The purchase of farmland is often cloaked in noble language. We're told it's about sustainability, innovation, feeding the world. But when you dig deeper, the truth looks far less altruistic. Mega corporations aren't buying fields to plant heirloom tomatoes and revive local ecosystems. They're setting up industrial-scale operations, leveraging genetically modified crops, and locking farmers into contracts that strip away independence and impose strict, profit-driven controls. Once autonomous stewards of the land become little more than laborers, cogs in a machine they don't own and can't escape. Even worse, many of these contracts come with strings that bind farmers to monopolistic suppliers. Equipment, fertilizers, seeds, all locked into branded ecosystems that punish deviation. And with increasing surveillance and data collection, even the way a farmer tills their soil can be monitored and monetized. The autonomy of agriculture, once a hallmark of rural life, is being reduced to data points on corporate dashboards. This trend is global. Across the United States, Europe, Africa, South America, enormous tracts of fertile land are being snapped up at breakneck speed. In many regions, foreign investors, often backed by state-run entities, are buying land en masse, effectively exporting control over a nation's own food supply. Imagine a future where a country can't even guarantee food for its own citizens without negotiating with foreign powers. That's not just economic vulnerability, it's existential risk. The consequences ripple far beyond the fields. As land is consolidated into fewer and fewer hands, rural communities hollow out. Family farms that survive generations are swallowed up or priced out. Small towns wither. Cultural traditions tied to the land vanish. And with them goes a vital piece of human connection: the understanding that we are not separate from nature, but a part of it. We're also seeing growing tension between traditional farming methods and hyper-modernized agritech. Where once there was harmony between land and people, now there's conflict between ecological balance and profit margins. Wetlands are drained, forests are cleared, soil is stripped of its richness through relentless exploitation. The earth is being treated not as a living system, but as an input sheet for quarterly returns. The implications don't end with food. Land is also a geopolitical lever. When farmland becomes a bargaining chip in international negotiations, entire populations become vulnerable. The power to grow food means the power to dictate trade, policy, and even ideology. Imagine entire nations bowing to economic pressure because their crops depend on foreign-owned soil. It's not just about business, it's about sovereignty. But why now? Why this rush to acquire farmland? Look closer and you'll see a convergence of forces. Climate change is making traditional food systems less reliable. Supply chain shocks have exposed just how fragile global networks really are. Technological advancements have made it easier to industrialize agriculture at unprecedented scales. And perhaps most importantly, the elite understand that in an uncertain future, real wealth isn't measured in stocks, crypto, or luxury goods. It's measured in tangible assets, in what you can grow, in what you can control, in what you can deny others if it comes to that. Food has always been a weapon in times of crisis. History is littered with examples, from famines orchestrated to suppress populations, to blockades intended to break nations. Those who control food production hold an invisible gun to the heads of entire populations. They don't need to fire a shot, they just need to withhold. And it's not just about scarcity, it's about dependency. By centralizing food production, by making communities reliant on corporate systems for their basic needs, a subtle but unbreakable chain is forged. It becomes almost impossible to resist, to protest, to seek autonomy when your very survival depends on the goodwill of those in power. Already, we're seeing the groundwork laid. Seed patents that make it illegal for farmers to save and reuse their own seeds. Pesticide regimes that trap growers in cycles of dependence. Policies that favor large agribusinesses over small, independent farmers. Surveillance technologies that monitor crops, yields, even soil health. Data collected not to empower farmers, but to optimize profits for shareholders. Meanwhile, small-scale regenerative agricultural practices, those that prioritize biodiversity, local economies, and resilience, are being pushed to the margins. These approaches are not only more sustainable, but more humane, yet they receive a fraction of the funding, attention, or support granted to industrial models. Why? Because they don't scale as efficiently. Because they don't centralize power. This push towards centralized control has cultural consequences too. The wisdom of traditional agricultural knowledge is being erased. Centuries-old farming techniques, passed down through generations, are being abandoned in favor of algorithms and automation. What is lost isn't just technique, it's identity, community, and a way of life rooted in respect for the land. Some will argue that this is simply the market at work, that it's about efficiency and feeding a growing population. But that narrative crumbles when you realize that the most powerful players aren't interested in feeding everyone equally. They're interested in controlling who gets fed and at what price. If you think this only affects rural communities or developing nations, think again. Urban centers rely heavily on vast, unseen agricultural networks. When those networks are disrupted, whether by disaster, political decision, or strategic choice, cities will feel the hunger first and hardest. supermarket shelves don't restock themselves. And when the trucks stop rolling, when the supply lines snap, it will become starkly clear just how vulnerable modern society really is. Farmland isn't just dirt and crops, it's sovereignty, it's life, and it's slipping out of public hands into private vaults faster than most people realize. So, what can be done? Awareness is the first step. We need to recognize the strategic importance of farmland, not just as a commodity, but as a cornerstone of freedom. Supporting local farmers, pushing for policies that protect land from predatory acquisitions, and fostering community-based food systems are all pieces of the puzzle. But the deeper truth is this: as long as land is treated purely as an investment, as long as the forces of capital prioritize profit over people, the trend will continue. The only real solution lies in shifting our values, in remembering that the earth isn't just a source of wealth, it's the source of life itself. The question is not just who owns the farmland now. The question is, who will own the future? And unless we wake up to what's happening, unless we act with urgency and clarity, the answer will be simple: not us. Because when the food is gone, when the independence is lost, when every bite we take is dictated by those who see us as nothing more than consumers, we will understand, too late, that we sold our future for convenience and forgot that some things are too precious to ever be bought. They're buying all the farmland, and the reasons should terrify you.